Hello and welcome to the Piano Man's Library. I have had a fabulous reading week. I just needed to chill out, and I did. So I kind of put up everything that I had been reading that I had left over from June kind of on hold. And I just went with a couple of easy reads. And then the piano man gave me another one. He said, "Hey, can you read this before we give it to the daughter?" So I'll get to that one in a minute. But I started off with Janet Ivanovich's Going Rogue. This is a fairly recent publication. I think it was 22 that it came out. And this was my first book of hers that I've ever read. I thought I might have read one before that when I first picked this up, but I haven't. So this was my first experience with her, and it was a very simple read. You definitely didn't need a dictionary. It was light. It was about a bounty hunter and a kidnapping, and it was good. And I have to say, my favorite characters in here, there was two little old Italian ladies who really made the story. So that was book one. And then I still needed a little more lightness. So I picked up Mary Higgins Clark. I've Got You Under My Skin. So the reason I had originally bought this book was to get to know some Catholic authors and see if they included any of their beliefs into their stories. And the first one that I had read a month or two ago, that one she did. Definitely. This one, it was just a very minor role in this book, but it was still there, and it's still clean, and it was good. There was actually two different crime things going on in this story, so it was good. I quite enjoyed it. So, and then our daughter had a birthday, and she would like to become a doctor at some point. So we bought a bunch of books for her about being a doctor. And so the piano man is reading this one, How Doctors Think, before we pass it on to her. And he asked me if I would read this one here. When Breath Becomes Air. And this is a very good book. It's a very sad book because this doctor before he had the chance to become an attending neurosurgeon, he passed away of cancer. And he managed to finish all his years that he needed to do to get to that point and graduate, but he didn't actually get to practice as an attending. So it's is very good, and it's very sad. He was a very good doctor. He loved literature. His mother, when they moved from the Northeast down to, I believe it was Arizona, to an area that she found that the education was one of the poorest in the country. And she was very worried about her boys and their college. And so she made them read all the classics, all the things that I'm just learning. So, yeah. And he loved all of it. And so but he had a much deeper, he had so many deep questions and stuff. So I'll just read you a few excerpts from the book. A few years later, I hadn't thought much more about a career, but had nearly completed degrees in English literature and human biology. I was driven less by achievement than by trying to understand in earnest what makes human life meaningful. And okay, and then at another section where he's starting to practice. And he says, at moments, the weight of it all became palpable. It was in the air, the stress and misery. Normally, you breathed it in without noticing it. But some days, like a humid, muggy day, it had a suffocating weight of its own. Some days, this is how it felt when I was in the hospital, trapped in an endless jungle summer, wet with sweat, the rain of tears of the families of the dying pouring down. He can write too. Before operating on a patient's brain, I realized I must first understand his mind, his identity, his values, and what makes his life worth living, and what devastation makes it reasonable to let that life end. Yeah, he took his job very seriously. There was a few instances where my beliefs didn't quite agree with what his were, but he thought hard about the people whom he was serving and helping and operating on, and their quality of life. And he had really good discussions with the people, the families, and the patients, that he met with. Yes, and he's quite open about his Christian values, and that he didn't always have them. He grew up a Christian, but he, like many people when they go off to college, he left all that behind and thought he knew better. But by the time he turned 30, he'd got back to his faith. And I think he was in his late 30s when he passed away. I can't remember now. And then his wife, he passed away before he could finish this book. And so his wife wrote the epilogue and a very detailed description of how he died at the end. And it all happened so fast. He left behind, I think she was about 9 months old, a 9-month-old little daughter. So that was very sad. So anyway, I have lots and lots and lots of tabs in here that I'm going to have to take off before I can pass this book on, along with this one, to our daughter. But I think she will enjoy them. There was a few others that we passed along already, but yeah, so those are the ones that I've read in just a few days. And when I took the last books back to the library, the couple that I had from the public library, they had this there. Make It So by Patrick Stewart. And I am not a Trekkie of any kind by any means, but I do appreciate the Picard character and I don't know what you would say. He elevated the space. Yeah, in a way, bringing in classical music and books, actual books and stuff. So, yeah, I was very, very curious to see what this would be like. This is his memoir. And so far, am I on page 89? And he's still a kid. He just finished school, but he has been acting for a few years already. And it has been a very interesting life so far. So, I'm working on this. I am almost finished Anna Karenina. So, next time you see me, this should be done. I can tell you about it. My thoughts. So many thoughts. And I'm about a third of the way through Martin Chuzzlewit. And I don't know, 250 pages into The Tale of Genji. So there's those. And then Talia at Talia Nerds Out has brought this book to my attention, and I had to get it. The Stripping of the Altars. And I have to hurry and read this one too, because the Piano Man saw it come in and he wanted to steal it on me. But he'll have to wait. So I'm reading that. I am excited about that one. And I've got my Jane Austen stuff here, but I'm not going to even touch those until I finish a couple of these ones. because otherwise I might get bogged down again, and I don't want to do that. So that is what I'm working on. What are you reading these days? And have you been able to go outside at all? Because we haven't been able to go outside much this last week. It's just been storming and storming and storming. So that's good for reading, but my lawn could use some attention again. So let me know. Let me know what you're doing. And if you've read any of these books and what you think. So have a great day. Bye.